I prefer watching it in the original Korean with subtitles. I think it's fantastic. With the dub, you lose a lot of that like reverb and like natural sound. It's kind of weird.
You're not wrong.
So spoiler
that we
alert.
can agree on.
Again, we are going to spoil this show to to Kingdom Come. There we go. Spoiler alert. So what was it about? You mentioned that the creator had said something, and it was like
the creator called it a fable for modern day capitalism, but also for life and the competitiveness of life. And that message, it's not subtle at the end, which I won't ruin for anybody, but it's not subtle at the end. And that messaging was there, and some people can't get past it, and I understand that. But I thought it was a damn good story.
So what was the messaging? Like, what do you think the message conveyed?
Well, basically it's a cold and cruel system. In that fable, there is no resolution except for at the end they create their own enemy, quote unquote. But that's what I got out of it.
All right. Just for context, okay, because those of you that are sticking around, even though we told you spoilers are here, I'm going to give you the quick breakdown of the show. It's a bunch of desperate people in debt, and then all of a sudden they get an opportunity to play in a game, but the game is brutal and you die in it. But if you don't, you win.
Yeah.
I think it's like equivalent of U.S.
It's a
like
game
capitalism.
made
In capitalism,
by
we recognize not everybody is equal. Not everybody does have an equal chance. We do want equal opportunity, but some people are poor and some people are rich. In this system, everyone is wearing the same clothes in the same room, being brutalized by the powers that ultimately result in one person having all the wealth and everyone dying. That is not capitalism. In capitalism, there's too much food. People are morbidly obese, and they're homeless people who are fat.
Dude, okay, so right off the bat, they're in the same uniforms and the same thing. Well, okay. Yeah.
It's a game show.
It's a fucking game show. Like, and also, like, okay. Have you seen the fucking rooms? Have you seen the rooms that the soldiers use? The ones where they sleep? You know how it's a box with a mirror, a shitter, a toilet, and a sink, and a bed? See, they say fiction is crazier than reality because check this shit out. This is happening in the capitalist hell world that we currently live in. Where the fuck is it? There! Yeah, they want to put that in Santa Barbara's dorms. That's happening because of a fucking donation, too, from a billionaire.
Yeah, the billionaire is creating the anti-suicide shoebox room. And in Squid Game, the soldiers, who are from the rich people, they live in a very similar room where it's super tight and blocked in.
But at least in the Squid Games universe, you could take a fucking shit in your own room. Not in this one. Not in the actual hell world we live in. No. You gotta take a shit with everyone else. I'm just saying, like, it's just, and the whole, like, oh, everybody's, like, too much food to eat. Yeah, if you can fucking afford it. Dude, well, there were bread lines forming all throughout the pandemic through 2020.
There's a lot of food to eat, but the distribution through the capitalist system leads us to then, like we saw before, the UN, there's millions of people who are going to starve.
Well,
yeah, there's a lot of food.
That. Fuck them, because that's foreign.
But the thing
what
is,
about just here at home? During 2020, there was probably one of like the largest growths in terms of food donations in the country.
Yeah.
Like in the history of the country. There were food giveaways basically all the time from schools, from colleges, from a lot of these charities. Even I think the state itself was giving out food at some points. Like, you're talking about actual fucking bread lines that were just forming all throughout the country.
And you could say that the pro-capitalist take would be to just leave everything open, but then the pro-capitalist take would also be to let all of your grandparents die for the sake of the capitalist system. So I would take food and living over the lockdown, food and living, lockdowns included, then no lockdowns and letting like basically millions of people die when you could have had less people die. You want to continue with the...
Yeah, let's go.
Communism. Everybody wears the same clothes. They have limited access to anything. They get garbage food every day. They're like, okay, the game's over. Here's the food you get. And they get trash. And they're fighting each other because they're starving. That, to me, is an indictment of communism. And if this guy who made the show is actually like, it's actually capitalism that's bad, I'm like, it just goes to show this is a person who made a great show, but was...
What about during the fucking early pandemic when people were just raiding all the stores and everything was gone? People were over shopping and that caused a shortage for everybody. Like, half the population got too much shit and the other half didn't get enough. What the fuck are you on about?
I gotta say, if you're poor, you're not really eating that good food either. Like, yeah, it's food and everybody's fat, but they're fat because they're eating top ramen.
Yeah,
like the cheapest foods make you the fattest. And I always sort of felt that was weird. It's like, oh, our poor people are fat, but that's because they're eating like
McDonald's.
They're eating carb lard. Yeah, they're eating McDonald's, which is cheap. And like BK had their 3-for-3 meal. You get a burger, fries, and like a cookie and like a drink. And let's say even if you just wanted to drink soda all day, soda's cheap.
McDonald's.
Soda is ridiculously cheap. At
Yeah.
McDonald's, you get a $1 refillable cup. If
Big
you have,
ass
if
one,
you have
too.
2 large cups of fucking soda, that's like your daily calorie intake.
Yeah,
And and that's the thing. Like, people say like, oh, but your poor people are fat, but it's like it's because you had 2,000 calories in like 2 cups of soda, which costs you like $1.
And
you're not eating food that'll get you
you're
to
a
live
journalist.
past 40.
Temple,
You're eating food that will make you die.
Temple,
from,
you're a journalist.
Like health problems.
You've heard of food deserts. You know what food deserts are. You're an educated guy. You know that a food desert is where it's just a shitty little liquor store and that's the only place to buy groceries for 20 miles around. So it's like, imagine how that fucking place was faring during the early pandemic. Oh yeah, like the one place that sold shitty overpriced food in like 50 miles and everybody just fucking bought it. Like, dude, that shit happens in capitalism all the time. Not to mention all the food waste we do, where we literally just, if it's a day old, or if it looks ugly, or if the can is fucking bent in, you just don't eat it. You just throw it out. And you know what's even worse about it too is that we like lock up the fucking trash cans. We penalize people actively for dumpster diving for food. What the fuck are you on, Tim Pool?
You know, and one more point though about like the soda. I mean, it'll give you your daily calorie intake, right? But I mean, going on with the capitalist system, these people they purposely made this soda that is super cheap, easy to digest, also make it one of the most addictive things you'll ever have day to day, and to make it so then you'll just want to drink it every day no matter what. It's just, yeah, I mean, we should go on.
Dumb and didn't understand they were actually critiquing communism.
It's like they took them out of a capitalistic system where they were doing pretty bad to a communistic system where they were doing really, really bad.
But the thing is, the capitalists made this. It's like let's say like if we were more in a laissez-faire system where there was not as many rules barred, we had it where you can sign away like your life and your mortality. Then the point is, at least what I got, was that the bigwigs, they would make gladiatorial systems for poor people to fight. And when they win, they get enough money to take them out of the debt, which is why they're here, burdened to them because of this capitalist system.
Hey, I mean, a lot of these
the thing
people,
is, like, the point is that this happens if there was no laws to stop them. If there was no laws in place to stop the rich from doing this to poor people, these people would have came in voluntarily, out of their own volition, to do this.
I mean, a lot of these people, I don't know if Tim Pool is a simp for Rome, but I know a lot of his like conservative fans tend to be Rome simps. Mm-hmm. You know, like one of the things Rome was most famous for was gladiatorial fucking combat, where I know they didn't always die in the gladiatorial arena. I know that's a myth that they always get killed, but like it's not far off. And I mean, especially when you're fighting animals, it's like they're not going to be able to save your dumbass. You're going to die. So yeah, like if you didn't have if OSHA didn't exist, we'd fucking be fighting tigers and shit today with fucking machetes and shit. Like what the fuck type of hell world? Okay, let's continue.
Executed by the state, which usually happens under communism. I mean,
for like childish whims.
Exactly, and that's literally what happens under communism. Look up, what happened in China, what happened in Russia, what happened in Europe as well. So there's a long history, there's a long context to people just being purged, taken away. Another very interesting aspect of that story is the masks that the very rich people were wearing were kind of similar to the same masks that the Rothschilds.
We talked about this earlier in the stream. Oh god, he's probably going to get into the Jewish question shit. We were talking about this earlier in the stream, but the Battle of Blair Mountain, a bunch of coal miners went on strike. And instead of hearing these people out, because of World War I that was going on, they fucking bombed a hill filled with coal miners and then shot them down. The army brought in machine guns and biplanes. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, like, granted, we don't do it as much anymore, but so does fucking China. Yeah, of course. Like, you're talking about...
If people getting taken people getting taken away, that happened during BLM protests.
Oh, yeah, they did get taken away. Yeah, but also, here's another thing, too. I forget exactly how this happened, but during one of these strikes, they actually killed one of the organizers of these protests. Like they would go after these people, beat them up. And oftentimes, too, the military and police would side with the company, the company that the strikers were going up against, and they would just get fucked.
Yeah, I mean, we've killed a lot of people. We've purged certainly people we thought were offensive to the state. Like, his name, I remember, Fred Hampton, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the man.
The Black Panther?
Yeah, the Black Panther leader. Like, we purged people. Like, it's just, I mean,
Didn't they
if you
also
want to
kill
ignore
MLK
it.
too? Wasn't that like also admitted to later?
Well,
or was that?
there was the letter to Birmingham jail where they basically said stop or, like, kill yourself. Like, they were basically encouraging him, like, hey, you should kill yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they were willing to kill the leader of the Black Panthers, I mean, really, how far is that from being willing to kill MLK?
Oh no, they killed didn't they? No, it was like didn't they spur on like the Nation of Islam to kill what's his name?
Malcolm X?
Yeah, Malcolm X. Didn't they spur the Nation of Islam to kill his ass?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Like, they've certainly gotten people before, and they certainly put down peasant revolts when it didn't suit their needs. I mean,
Because during the Red Scare, you'd also pretty much go to jail if you had, like, association with communism. You were
if
basically...
your neighbor called you a communist, you'd go to fucking jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, there had to be Supreme Court cases to stop states. Pretty sure there was one in California, actually, where, like, somebody was associated with somebody who's part of the Communist Party, and they want to arrest the person for even being associated with it. Now, thankfully, the Supreme Court stopped it, but that's because we had to hire up authorities to stop the state from going overboard. What's going on?
Childs were pictured wearing at some of their private parties and gals a couple decades ago. So I saw that right away. I was like, wait, that's the elites doing this. And I thought of the movie more of a critique.
You ever like? Do they not know about the elite parties of like?
They're called masquerade masks.
Yeah, masquerade
Something like
masks.
that, right?
Like the hoity-toity elites, they come in with like the masquerade mask, and I thought it was supposed to mimic that, where they go in there with those nice like champagne cups and shit.
Well, so you can't be identified later for being into weird sex parties.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue.
The ruling elites, because it's essentially, again, spoiler alert, rich people coming together to watch the average poor people, struggling people, kill each other over money. And there's some important kind of parallels there. The series is kind of gory, so if you're sensitive to that stuff, I wouldn't.
Just to say it like this, in East Asia, there's a giant human sex trade, and yeah, a lot of those people tend to be like...
what was that dude from Fox News who got shown that he was like having sex with underage people? Because his whole thing was he was helping them pay for college. I forgot his name. And it's the same shit here.
I want to watch it. I watched it. I was like, Tim, you got to watch it. But you watched it, and it is very thought-provoking. It is very emotional, and it definitely pulls at the heartstrings in many different ways.
I looked this up. Luke, you ain't kidding.
What is this?
There's a bunch of photos from this Rothschild's party where they're all wearing these masks that are similar to the Squid Game thing.
Yeah.
But that's probably what he was doing, the creator.
Yeah.
It was a guy, right, who created it? I'm saying.
Well, the story. I'm hearing a lot of different.
creator.
I'm hearing a lot of different reports about this guy saying that he lost a bunch of teeth because of the stress during the production of this movie. I heard that he tried to get this movie done for years and it kept getting denied. So
The series, you mean?
yeah, the series. But yeah, I remember seeing those masks, automatically thinking, wait. I saw these masks before. They're at the private galas and private meetings of the super rich that already do take place when you do look at the very powerful people in our world that manipulate the system for their own personal
I'll put it
benefit.
this way. Capitalism isn't the problem. Communism doesn't exist. It's just this idealized system. We might as well call it unicornism. The real problem is corruption and corporatism. And the left says capitalism when they mean corporatism.
I think
I'll be honest with you. I used to be one of those people who thought this way. And I'll be honest, I don't think that way at all anymore. Because here's the problem. This system is literally built to make you as rich as possible, and it favors the rich. I mean, we pride ourselves on having billionaires, and we pride ourselves on having millionaires.
Was it FDR or was it TDR who did the antitrust laws?
Well, no, just think about this, though. Think about this for a second. Like, you're talking about people who... Fuck, you made me forget my train of thought. Damn it, Soul. What was he saying? I'm going to rewind it again.
The corporatism.
Yeah, corporatism. Yeah, okay, so here's the problem. You need a production, like a means of production that is capable of outfitting a nation and giving enough to a nation. So you're talking about millions upon hundreds of millions of people. You do need these production methods. But the problem is that under capitalism, all these are always going to be owned under by like one person, a handful of people, or a family. Because that's how it's built. That's why we have so many millionaires and billionaires. And when a system is designed to make people as rich as possible, that's what you're going to get.
Sorry, go on.
You're not going to get this whole magical system where everybody's doing well and everybody's doing fine. It's not a zero-sum game. It's like, granted, there always will be, you know, like dispersed success. But the problem is like that's like trickle down economics. If the rich just get richer, and everybody else under them gets richer too. It's like not during the COVID pandemic. Most of us got poorer, and while the rich made a shitload of money during the pandemic, even our own senators were caught doing inside trading. It's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, and in a system where these billionaires and stuff, and this would be the capitalist way, would be that they can fund campaigns. I mean, that was the whole Supreme Court case, right? With
laissez-faire.
Yeah, like you can give them money because it's part of free speech. You're able to speak through your money, and the thing is, if you're basically able to buy out politicians. I mean, you're buying favors, but when their whole campaign relies off of you giving them millions of dollars, because these new campaigns, especially Senate campaigns and presidential campaigns, they'll spend millions and millions and millions. When you're their lifeline, the government and the businesses will be tied together, and of course, coming from that, the government will make new laws that'll favor these big businesses that are giving them the money to run.
See,
and it reminds me of the fucking, like, I think probably the worst case of companies coming together with government was probably during like the bananas in South America. What was it called?
The banana republic.
Yeah, banana republics, where our companies went to third world countries and were like, hey, we want your fucking bananas.
Yeah, but he would say those are corrupt. See, that's what I was gonna say. You have a means of production, and you need it to outfit.
But how is it corrupt when you can literally pay the politicians to be in favor of what you want? Because you believe that's a matter of freedom of speech.
Well, remember, like I said, when you need a means of production that's capable of fulfilling a nation's needs. So at the end of the day, you're going to need, if not $1 billion corporation, you're going to need something that looks a fuck of a lot like it. Now, in our current system, one guy owns that shit, or a handful of people own that shit, which means at the end of the day, their entire incentive, their entire business world is designed as pumping as much profit out of that business as they possibly can. And the part of this is because of the fact that their workers don't have any choice in how they're paid and how their conditions are. At the end of the day, it's really up to the whims of their bosses, which really reminds me of, like, I know this is kind of a tired comparison, but like kings and fiefdoms. When you can literally control the daily life, by the way, you spend 8 hours a day at your job, so when you control the daily life of people and they have no say in it, yeah, that is kind of autocratic. And that's the system that comes out under capitalism, because you have this hierarchical system in which one dude owns everything else. That's why a good idea, especially if you want to maintain the means of production, is just to have a voting system for workers. Workers should be able to vote at least on managers, at least on I
don't see how the idea of laissez-faire capitalism could allow Squid Games to exist. Like, if you live in a laissez-faire system where there's a bunch of people literally in debt through whatever reasons because they didn't have enough money, they had to take
made bad choices. Yeah.
Like, the whole point is that this could happen if there weren't laws to stop it. Like, how could that be communism? I mean, I guess you can say that, like, oh, these big, rambunctious, like, fucking overlords that have a bunch of money, like, they're doing a communist sort of setting. But you saw how it was at UC Santa Barbara, one of the best schools in California. They want to make dorms that look so fucking small. Dude, that, like, you're living and you're by yourself. You're spending tens of thousands of dollars.
You want to know why this isn't communism? Because they got to vote, motherfucker. They got to vote. They got to leave that bitch, and they all came back. Which means that this entire thing is voluntary. Even though we all know, knowing the characters, that it really, really wasn't. It was like, I saw this meme. It was like, make bread or die in a box. Fuck, I forgot. It was like, basically, point is, it's non-voluntary. Or it's like, it has that, like, perception of voluntary. Because
with the main
they were allowed to vote. They were allowed to leave, right? They did vote, and they did respect the vote. So, there you go. It's capitalism. Boom. I win simple.
I keep going?
Sure.
That's exactly the problem. I think that's what he's doing with the masks. He thinks that the Rothschild embody capitalism. They do not.
No,
they embody elitism.
They're the biggest promoters and pushers of communism and destroy
elitism. But who would be at the top of the pyramid? The elites. I mean, capitalism wants There'd be people that I just
yeah, and laissez-faire, like, you don't think anybody would still be on the top? Like, someone would still be on top if you had your perfect system where the government just did not interfere, or even if it did interfere, because maybe you're not like a total libertarian.
Like, did the Rockefellers not happen? The
Rockefellers did.
Jesus Christ.
But you just call that elitism and corporatism. It's just like, that was when capitalism had the least amount of restrictions on it, and that's when it got the worst. So,
like, if you were the owner of a coal mine back during
the Coal Wars, you could call in the or not call them in, but you can get like the police to come beat up the strikers for you.
It's like, what part of American history was not corporatism?
Back when we lived in log cabins.
Back when we lived in log cabins and you were probably a serf to another man's farm.
Of actual
servant.
real.
Pretty much.
Indentured servant, not the same thing.
Free markets. Another interesting aspect was the fat guy. I mean, he looked.
I'll say this though. I do like his. I like the sweater or the shirt he's wearing. I'm Joe Biden and I forgot this message.
Like Newt Gingrich. I talked to Newt Gingrich a couple times. I went up to him, asked him straight up to his face, "Hey, what did you do at the Bohemian Grove when you shipped in specifically male prostitutes?" And he was sweating up a storm. I did this like 5 times to him. He really doesn't like being asked those questions, but we got to understand.
Well, it's because he thinks you're gonna fucking shoot him, dude. And he thinks like...
Well, like, it's equivalent to shooting. Even like asking the question, putting it out there, it's like, oh, fuck.
No. Think about this. Imagine some
Epstein
dude...
2.0.
No, dude, imagine some wide-eyed reporter. Not even a reporter, just some crazy fucker. Right, wide-eyed, and he's like, "So, did you have a bunch of gay sex at the devil-worshipping concert?" I'm like, "Are you gonna fucking stab me?"
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna stab me in the chest? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, and what if I did have gay sex with somebody? You gonna stab me in the chest then because you don't like queers? Like, what the fuck? Where are we going with this?
It was also pretty fucked. Even if you point out like all the bad shit like the rich and powerful do, like, remember the person who released the Panama Papers? She got fucking murked. She was assassinated.
Yeah, the Panama Papers, the ones where it showed where all those bankers, or not bankers,
and like even if you look up on Google, it does say assassinated.
So you know, just side note, by the way, the Panama Papers, for those of you who don't know, were a bunch of leaks about where like essentially world leaders, CEOs were keeping their money in offshore accounts.
Yeah.
And the woman who actually released it got killed in Malta, and I think it was like a car crash, something like that, or the car exploded, something like that. But yeah, she got fucking killed.
Yeah, I think it was a car bomb.
Yeah, she got fucking killed, dude. So,
Jesus.
like, whatever, fucking bullshit, dude.
Yep.
The mafia's communism.
There is some level of reality when it comes to super rich people coming together in the middle of the woods doing very weird things. That does happen. It's called Bohemian Grove. There's also other kind of secret societies and offshoots to these secret societies.
Remember when Bilderberg was a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, they said it didn't exist. They said it didn't exist a few years ago.
Remember
and I was
when
there at the meetings, be like, "It's here, it's happening." They're like, "No, he's crazy."
Remember when they...
Dude, I hate this conspiracy bullshit. The conspiracy's right fucking there. We know that they keep their money on offshore accounts. We know these people don't even use their own income. They use stocks and borrow against their own stocks. These people don't pay taxes. It's all out in the open. I hate these people who are like, we need to overcomplicate this by making this fucking conspiracy theory. We already know. Like, we know who these people are. This isn't a secret. We know what they're doing. This type of conspiracy shit's just chasing phantoms. We know what they're doing right now. If most of the world leaders, most CEOs around the world keep their money in offshore accounts with places with no taxes, or if they want to borrow money but don't want to pay income tax, they just borrow against their stock. This whole fucking thing about, no, it's Bilderbergs and they're making the kids gay and they're using devil blood. It's like, dude, you're overcomplicating this. You're making it like pointlessly fucking complicated. We fucking know what this is. Rich people want to keep their money. They're going to do anything they want to keep, or anything they can to keep their money. That's what that's always been. Like, it's fucking bullshit, dude.
My brain cells are dying.
That dude from The Guardian down, he was really angry.
Charlie Skelton, he
That
came
was-
there to make fun. He's not my friend. Charlie Skelton was sent down there by The Guardian to make fun of the people outside. They sent him down there. He's like, there's a bunch of loonies, there's a bunch of crazies. He literally got followed everywhere, assaulted by police officers. They raided his hotel room. They raided my hotel room. The police officers acted like the Gestapo against any journalist trying to do any real reporting against the Bilderberg group. And he came out of it.
Well, if you let them pay for the campaigns and be the lifeblood of campaigns, and you don't do anything about Citizens United and letting money be freedom of speech, then why are you surprised that government workers are fighting for them and not for you? Why would they fight for you if they're the ones that are paying for their campaign?
Saying, hey, I thought these guys were crazy. I came here to make fun of them. These guys are honest. I'm being followed by police everywhere I go, and they're literally trying to arrest me for just trying to take a photo of David Rockefeller. And
you're a crazy fuck who looks like you're gonna stab someone in the chest if you tell them, if they answer any of your crazy fucking questions. Like, you don't look like the model of health, man. I know, like, stone houses and shit, or glass houses and shit, but you don't... Okay, you're the type of person who would have a giant Q on their chest walking up to some of these people. And, like, the moment I saw that, I'm like, alright. Like, you're a fucking crazy person. I mean,
even asking the rich and powerful the question, it's like you're asking them the Epstein question, you know, it's like, so what'd you do with the kids? Like,
yeah, it's like...
I mean, they're gonna go after you. And, I mean, you're brave to ask those questions to them. I would say that is admirable. It's like you're gonna go up to them and be like, hey, so what'd you do with the prostitutes? Like, hey, just props for that.
Yeah, I guess.
However, it's like with the Panama Papers chick that got killed. Like,
you're never,
you're gonna get attacked for it, and that's the sad thing.
Well, that's the thing, is that when you do Panama Papers, that's the real conspiracy theory. That's my fucking point.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real conspiracy theory. The fact that these people dodge taxes, they dodge every legal system because they fucking made it this way. And, like, these are the rich, these are the powerful, these are people who either have money or are connected to it in some form. Like, come on, like, this is delusional.
Yep. It is a side thing I remembered. It's like, all these conservatives are afraid about the cartels at the border, even though banks like Chase and Bank of America, they create accounts for the cartels, and they didn't even get fined that much for holding bank accounts for them. Because conservatives are afraid of attacking the big banks and holding them responsible for anything.
Kissinger walking down the street together. I got arrested at Bilderberg way too many times too.
I said it wasn't real. I said it was a conspiracy
it doesn't
theory.
exist.
And it's like you could literally just stand there and be like, here it is.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, sorry, sir, it's a private event. It's the Bilderberg, group meeting. And then look at the newspaper and it's like, nope, not a real thing.
Yep, doesn't exist.
Bye-bye.
Crazy.
Yeah, I remember there being like, this is absolutely absurd. But when really rich people do come together, they do really weird stuff. And there's a lot of weird stuff that I even experienced at Bilderberg. There's even weirder stuff happening at the Bohemian Grove.
I don't give a fuck. Can I be honest with you? If it's not illegal, I don't care. If they're worshipping idols, I don't care. If they're fucking each other, I really don't care. If they're having naked fire parties, still don't give a fuck. The problem is these people literally do not pay taxes. These people, like, and even if we raised income, like personal income, that probably wouldn't even do any fucking thing. Because again, these people borrow against their stock. So, I don't give a fuck if they're fucking each other in the forest somewhere with an owl looking over them in a fire pit, around a fire pit. I don't give a fuck. Like, I really don't give a fuck. These people are, like, literally fucking us over actively. They don't pay their taxes. They don't contribute to society, yet they arguably get the most value out of the infrastructure they don't even pay for. It's like, it's their trucks on the road. It's their websites occupying the internet. It's the police that protect their shit because they're the people who own shit that needs protecting. Like, these people get an absorbent amount of value out of the infrastructure, out of government services that they don't even fucking pay for. Okay? Like, that's the real fucking conspiracy. We're talking about fucking Bilderbergs. I don't give a fuck if they're fucking each other in the forest. Like, I really don't.
A little bit homophobic, man. Why can't gay people have sex? I don't know. But, I mean, prostitutes...
I don't care. I'm not even against sex work. Buy your prostitutes, whatever, man. As long as, like, they're...
Well,
like,
my guess is that they're not prostitutes by choice, but...
I mean, maybe not. I mean, if it's in America... If they're doing... I thought they did the Bilderberg shit in, like, America.
Well, I mean, do you think they're coming from... Like, if you have prostitutes at Bilderberg in America, my guess is that they're not, you know... I mean, it's not
when
legal
you're rich
here.
enough... When you're rich enough, you can do anything you want.
Well, no, well, that's my point, is that they're not, like... They're...
Maybe. I mean, they could
The point is
always
that they're not voluntarily prostitutes.
Maybe. I mean, they could just be escorts. That's also a thing that happens too.
True,
A lot of these
but we
people have,
know
like,
where that's
mistresses.
leading. I mean, we know you're paying $1 million for a night. I mean, if you're getting
This is
brought to
some of the
the
stuff
to the fucking the mask party.
I mean, then again, you could always just be like that trophy. Like, if you're a businessman who's like 70 years old and can't get a stiffy anymore.
Sure,
You could just bring, like,
prize
you
women,
just-
prize men.
Yeah, just buy a prize woman and bring her and be like, so we're going to do some crazy shit tonight.
Mm.
But you'll be on so many drugs that you won't even remember it. You
Yeah.
want to come? you'll get $1 million for your time in jet set around the fucking country. Like, honestly, not the worst offer ever. Like, granted, I gotta touch an old ass man, so probably wouldn't take it up personally, but I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
But there might not be consensual either. That could be.
I don't think they're. I don't think they consensually went to that position of their.
I don't necessarily think so. I feel like some of these rich people get off on like the consent. It's like, yeah, you want this. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're acting at that point.
Yeah. Well, they paid for it. Technically, they did get it.
Yeah, it's.
I can pay for love.
Yeah, that's not bueno. You want to keep going?
Sure.
Well, what about the stuff we don't know about? So I thought this was a perfect time to talk about the bigger elements of these elites who do very sinister things. So that was me, the larger conversation of Squid Games.
But that's always, the criticism is always the corrupt elites. I don't, when they talk about like, communism, they never actually implement it because it's not possible. It's impossible to do. And then when they criticize, when the left criticizes capitalism, they're really just angry they're elites with centralized power, able to do really messed up things. And
full disclosure, I'm not really a communist, but to be totally fair with you, I don't think that system could happen either.
I'm a little confused. Like, in his capitalist world, are there no billionaires?
There's no millionaires either. Sounds pretty bleak.
It's like if you don't believe that there could be elites, like, by that, don't you mean that there's also, like, there's no billionaires? Maybe no, like, multi-millionaires? Like...
No, they just won't use their money to corrupt the
That'd be less capitalist than Bernie Sanders, or Bernie Sanders in his tax plan. He allows for billionaires to be there. But this guy, he doesn't want... like elites. I mean, what's your definition of elite? What's the money requirement? Like,
you know what? I'll even say this. I'll go one step further. Even if, for example, you ban people from making PACs or whatever the fuck, or ban them from like paying politicians or directly contributing. They can always just pay for ads on their own, right?
Well, that's true. You can pay for ads. You can do side things to help promote them. You can pay for people to go out and campaign for you. Vote people to go on canvas. And even then, even if you didn't pay for any of that, the fact that you are worth millions to billions of dollars to their home economy means that they don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah,
it's like if they fuck with you and you do something in retaliation, you're gonna see job loss. You're gonna see bad things. That's gonna make your voters hate you. So, but the fact you can do it directly, it just shows how brazen it is.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Even in his glorious system where no one's corrupt, the rich are still going to have an overwhelming influence and an overwhelming ability to influence the democracy because they can just, again, buy all the ads. So, unless you're going to ban them from buying political ads, which getting pretty authoritarian there, Timmy. He's a very tired boy.
I'm very tired. I'm going to sleep. So I got to take my grapefruit soda. I'll keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Away with it because of how much power they've accumulated. That's not what capitalism is supposed to represent either. And the problem is, communism doesn't exist, right? They say that every time they try it, they get some weird form of genocidal authoritarianism. Capitalism, at its root, is just.
I will, like I said, I honestly don't really fully. I mean, I haven't heard a convincing argument for it because every Marxist-Leninist I've ever talked to is like, well, you should just go down and eat yourself. I'm like, this is your chance to pitch the idea, and you're just telling me to fuck off. So it's like, all right, that's nice of you. So, But I am a socialist, and I do believe in a state solution. So I am not of the USSR bent for sure. They're fucking crazy. I just like a system, like a SOC-Dem system. I'd be satisfied with social democracy with a strong welfare state. That would still be about the same thing. Also, UBI is like the best version of the fucking, what's that word called? Of the dystopian future that we're bound to get.
Mm-hmm.
UBI is like, yes, the rich will give you enough money to not rise up or not to fight. It's like, okay, that's great. But yeah, I agree that the problem I've always had with communism, I guess, is it assumes everybody's going to be acting on its best, on their best of intentions, which I honestly don't think that's the case. The only convincing thing I've heard, and it's pretty close to communist, is worker democracy. Because you could always argue why wouldn't they vote for the guy who would just pay them $100 an hour instead of $20? Well, because then the fucking business would go under. And that's a thing that you could easily convince people of. It's that's not really possible. But then it would force the CEO or manager or whoever is in charge of that to actually justify their decisions versus just fucking everyone off. So, and that one makes more sense because you're taking advantage of people's selfishness. So democracy, I think, is probably the best way to go forward, especially with businesses. But, you know, I don't know if Tim's a little. I don't know if Tim believes in such things. Probably not.
Probably not.
Let's go.
People with capital from their work can reinvest that into making more projects. However, in our current system, which mixes it, we end up with a lot of corruption. And then you get a left saying, aha, this proves capitalism doesn't work. And it's like, no, actually, the problem is the corruption.
Yeah.
I don't care who's doing it or why. Corruption ban.
When you use the power of government to destroy your competitors in the, quote, free market, that's not a free market.
That's not the free market.
That's communism. That's government direct intervention into the free market. That's preventing the market from being able to express itself, from being able to speak for itself. Because usually, in the free market, if someone does something good, they get promoted, they get business, they get commerce, they get people going to them because they know that their reputation is good. When you have multinational billionaire elites playing by a different set of rules, not paying taxes, getting subsidies, literally getting taxpayer-funded money, getting bailouts and restrictions and rules that punish their competitors and only help them, that is not a free market. We don't have that. We have multinational corporations, global.
Well, I'm during the Gilded Age when there was like no regulation or any safety regulations or shit.
They don't say why or how it came to be. They don't talk about how campaigns are funded by them. They don't talk about how the bigger player you are in your states or your counties, really your regional economy, you're gonna get more favors from your politicians.
Yeah, like during the Rockefeller days, we all know the story. The guy didn't even need the government. All he did was he just undercut the competition until they went under because he was such a giant business he could sustain the loss.
Economy of scale.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's not that you need government. Capitalism just leads to someone being on top. There has to be, a lot of people say it, but there has to be winners and losers, right? That's the whole point of capitalism.
Mm-hmm. And then you become the elite.
Yeah, like a percentage of us become the elite.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is fucked.
Some people call them that are literally the ones calling the shots, creating policies that screw you over while they get whatever they want for the grabbing.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see
suck, Tim. You suck a lot.
It's like, how come he doesn't think about like how we got here? It's like it just goes over his head. Like the thought of how doesn't occur to him.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. You should know the history of this country. Capitalism kind of fucked us over for a long time. It's the fact that we had regulations and protections that made this even workable. I mean, we used to be able to, like, our cities used to... You guys ever seen pictures of how China kind of looks, where some cities in China were just covered by fucking smog? That used to be our cities until the government basically regulated that out. Like in LA, for example, I think it was when they forced all cars to have mufflers on them in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like any city. It looked like
we
a
had
city
burning
you'd see in China.
rivers.
Yeah, it looked like a city you'd see in China. Oh yeah, Flint, Michigan's water is still flammable.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,